Coming up on Point News, a closer look into legislation strengthening the rights of domestic violence victims in Pittsburgh.
Also, a special Point News feature story examining Western Pennsylvania's staggering opioid addiction issues.
And of course, a rundown of all your need to know Pittsburgh sports.
All that and more when Point News starts now.
Live from the Point Park University Broadcast Center in downtown Pittsburgh, this is Point News.
Good afternoon, I'm Julie Gurnick.
And I'm Harmon. We begin today's newscast with a shocking story that hit Pittsburgh last year. Point News reporter Sarah Maculin investigates how one domestic violence victim's friends and family are fighting for stronger protection from abuse order regulations.
According to the Center for Disease Control, over half of female homicides in the United States are the result of intimate partner violence, and 90% of those women are killed by their current or former partner. And that's exactly what happened to 20-year-old Alina Shiquette. A University of Pittsburgh student, Alina Shiquette had just transferred from Pitt Greensburg to start her fall semester at Pitt's main campus in the heart of Oakland. And like many transfers, Alina was busy adjusting to her new surroundings and meeting new people, something her childhood friend Rachel Burge says came natural to Alina.
She would go and help you, or if it was like a group project or something and you don't have a partner, she would go and be your partner. She was just really nice and outgoing. She didn't have to know you to feel like your friend. That was just kind of her personality. She could click with anyone.
However, Alina never fully got the chance to do that. On October 8, 2017, a little over a month after the fall semester began, Shiquette was found stabbed to death in her off-campus Oakland apartment. Days later, Pittsburgh police arrested her 21-year-old ex-boyfriend, Matthew Darby, in connection with the murder, a person who Shiquette had filed a protection from abuse order against just weeks prior.
She knew she needed something to help him stay away, because she tried breaking up with him and he kept coming around. But he was already getting into trouble with other things.
A protection from abuse order is a civil order that provides protection from harm by family or household members, sexual or intimate partners, or someone with whom you have a child in common. In her protection from abuse petition against Darby, Shiquette cited a history of previous abuse, including grabbing and pushing, as well as emotional abuse, jealousy, and a controlling nature.
We don't want any victim to have a false sense of security, because of course the piece of paper doesn't put a magic protection around them. But it is one tool, we say it's one tool, in a toolbox of things that victims can do to try to be safe.
But Alina's family and friends, as well as some Pennsylvania legislators, are taking the next step to ensure that this does not happen again. And that step is called Alina's Law, which would allow for the use of GPS monitoring for PFA violators, something that Allegheny County District Attorney Stephen Zappala has been hard at work on.
About 7 years ago, we studied the use of GPS technologies in Western Pennsylvania. We were concerned about the topography and the rivers and all that stuff. The study came back and said it's very feasible to use.
According to Alina's Law, known as Senate Bill 196, an electronic monitoring device would be implemented on those found to present a substantial risk of violating the final protection from abuse order or committing crime against the victim. Zappala says the GPS will work in a 100-mile radius, creating a safety bubble, with state police and 911 being notified if the defendant leaves the area.
Let's put them on a monitoring. Let's make sure that they're watched and we have a better way to hold them accountable. So we want to help the victim get help, but we also want to make sure we're really monitoring defendants better, and GPS technology could help that.
Currently, Alina's Law is awaiting its turn in the Senate after it passed unanimously 50-0 in the House of Representatives back in December. Last year, 102 people were killed in Pennsylvania as a result of domestic violence-related incidents, according to the Pittsburgh Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Now, the passing of Alina's Law cannot change that number or bring Alina back, but it may be the change that prevents another death due to domestic violence.
We have to do something. We can't keep losing our friends, our family, people we love to something that we could help, we could eliminate.
with nearly 50,000 Americans dying from drug overdoses yearly, it is more important to tackle the public drug epidemics more than ever. In another Point News feature story, our reporter Jess Paterchak examines Pittsburgh's fight against the opioid epidemic.
According to the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, over 42,000 people died of a drug overdose here in the United States. Now, some of the most staggering numbers within this epidemic come from Western Pennsylvania specifically. Point Park PhD student David Maitan discusses how political figures categorize the size of this crisis.
When you look at someone on a personal level, and then you look at it from a public policy level, they're different. You know, so when you deem it like a health crisis, you're approaching it from a higher macro level, and which doesn't really address the individual.
It's not a one-person problem. It affects everybody. It's because there's lying, there's cheating, there's stealing, there's deception, there's fear, there's anger. It conjures up every single emotion.
People, when talking about what we're doing and sharing about Eye of the Needle in conversation, how almost everyone has a connection to addiction and overdose in one way or another.
This is the last gift his mom gave him as a baby before she overdosed. So here he is, a recovering heroin addict, and this is the last piece of material that his mom gave him as a present.
And I think one of the patterns is people really, really want to know what to do, and there's not just an easy answer to that.
The recent surge in drug overdoses across the nation is connected with fentanyl being laced in heroin specifically. This graphic from Pennsylvania Coroner's Office shows that fentanyl has overtaken Western Pennsylvania completely.
And then the big epidemic now, with let alone the opioids, is the fentanyl. The heroin's being cut with fentanyl. Sometimes it's just straight fentanyl people are getting because it's 1,000 times stronger than the normal heroin and morphine.
But you know, what I've discovered is that it's a physical change that the body goes through when it becomes addicted to opioids. I mean, these receptors, they seek this, and they continue to seek it.
About 3 years ago, I lost the very first person to a heroin overdose. I've lost 4. And I remember thinking, no one's talking about this. But I knew that Light of Life was seeing it on the front lines every single day. And then I lost somebody else close to me.
It's the fact that sometimes they have things on them that could rub off onto you. If it's the fentanyl, it only takes barely any sprinkles to cause an overdose. I mean, like dust sprinkles, that's what I'm talking about.
Kate Wadsworth of the Light of Life Rescue Mission believes that a conversation is what's needed in order to help absolve the drug overdose epidemic.
It's been a really great tool to raise the level of conversation about addiction, particularly opioid addiction, when so many people are touched by it, but it's still maybe unsure of whether or not it's okay to talk about.
If you see somebody who's overdosing, call 911, or if it's on campus here, you can call our police department, 412-392-3960. Let us know. As soon as you get a hold of us, we're dispatched, we're coming out.
It's a very scary time to be in a situation where death is imminent and people don't care about it. You know, they're more worried about themselves. So hopefully this conversation continues and there is much more of a structured crackdown on making sure that this doesn't continue at the rate that it's continuing.
This church bell ringing symbolizes the number of drug overdose deaths in Allegheny County.
And what that moment does for the rest of that person's life and how it ricochets off of their family and off of their friends, and how it just turns life right upside down.
Spring seems to come and go in Pittsburgh.
From snow one day to the blistering heat the next, let's turn things to Kimberly Keagy for a look into this Pittsburgh crazy weather.
And let's look at our forecast for today, as the high is 42 and we have a low of 32. Now there is a large precipitation rate today of 90%, where we should check our umbrellas and take them out with us today. Now let's look at our weekend forecast, as we have a high of Friday with 51 and a low of 31 with a precipitation rate of 10. And our temperatures are increasing with 56 on Saturday, 34 and a precipitation rate of 10 for Saturday. And Sunday is starting to finally look like spring, where we have 61 for a high and a low of 41. Now with warmer weather, let's look back at the desk for the Pittsburgh Sports with Julie.
Thanks, Kim. The Pittsburgh Penguins are in a quest for three Stanley Cups in a row, that is. They lead the Flyers 3-1 despite having to play without Patrick Hornquist in Game 4 due to an upper body injury. The Penguins won 5-0 in Game 4. It was just announced, yesterday that Game 5 will be played Friday, April 20th at PPG Paints Arena. Puck will drop at 7 p.m. The Steelers season just started. Off-season workouts began earlier this week. Of course, this is just phase 1 before OTAs start. But the burning question is, who will replace Ryan Shazier, since it has been confirmed he will not play in the 2018 season. The Steelers brought in John Bostic from the Colts, but could they draft a new guy to match the speed that Shazier had, or do they go secondary with their first pick? The draft starts Saturday, April 26th at 9 p.m. The Steelers hold the 28th pick overall, so it looks like you'll have to stay up a little late to see the new member of Black and Gold. From sports to the arts, the Pittsburgh Playhouse is finding a new home in downtown Pittsburgh, right next to Point Park's University Center. But before the move, Point News reporter Nicole Paxinos looked at the theater's rich history and what has to come. Check out the exclusive Point News feature story.
Tonight, the final opening night for Point Park University Conservatory show is happening here at the Point Park University Playhouse in Oakland. The play is called Uncle Vanya. This is the last conservatory show happening on this stage before the new Pittsburgh Playhouse opens on Point Park University's campus this coming fall of 2018. The Pittsburgh Playhouse first opened its doors in 1934. Since then, it has become an iconic symbol of the city's culture. For over 7 decades, the organization continuously mirrored the community-oriented feel and the luxury of some of the most classic Broadway plays.
Primarily an actor for most of my career, and I had directed a few shows in the past, but just recently have begun directing at Point Park. So this will be my second production at Point Park. And I'm just lucky that it happens to be this last one at the Playhouse, because a lot of people have fond memories of this building, so it's been fun to have that conversation with people as we go.
Although Uncle Vanya is the final conservatory show here at the Playhouse, there have been hundreds of shows prior to this final one. One of the first shows at the Playhouse when it opened in 1934 was The Children of Darkness, and then came Russet Mantle in 1936. And even Yes, My Darling Daughter in 1943.
I know this space is just sacred to so many people who've been here for so long, and I mean, just seeing so many shows here and the staff here, I mean, they all just care about this performing arts center, this theater so much.
This space is home to the Rockwell Theater, which is the second theater in the Playhouse. This space is used to home multiple of conservatory dance and theater productions throughout the years. Downstairs is the home of the practice facility, which is also the home of a third theater here in the Playhouse. It is a more intimate style theater, but one that makes you feel like you're a part of the performance too. And finally, the Rao Theater. The name was dedicated by Richard Rao in loving memory of his parents and wife, who were consistent supporters of the arts in Pittsburgh. Now, although the Point Park Playhouse here in Oakland will be no longer, the memories that alumni and students have made here will last a lifetime.
So it is sad. I'm really hoping that they take some things with them. I hope they're allowed to, whether or not it's like a door that they're gonna put into the new Playhouse, which is gonna be their same office door from the old Playhouse. Like just small things. I hope that they're able to bring some things with them.
The brand new Pittsburgh Playhouse will be conveniently located right on Point Park University's campus on Forbes Avenue. The new facility will include 3 different theater spaces, a large scene shop, soundstage, prop and costume shop, and even a cafe. According to the Pittsburgh Playhouse website, on June 18th, they invite the public to be a part of their Lights Out celebration at the Pittsburgh Playhouse in Oakland as a final goodbye to the space.
People start their careers here, so of course they look at it as it's what kicked them off into the business. And we have a lot of people that have graduated Point Park and gone straight into the business and have never stopped working.
We're thrilled to make our way out, and before the Playhouse closes, we're just so sentimental about it. She actually auditioned for Point Park with a Chekhov play, with Uncle Vanya.
With a scene from Uncle Vanya.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of come full circle for her.
I think I actually came here at the perfect time because I got to experience the old Playhouse and all of its charm and magic, and watch the new Playhouse take shape, and every time I walk past it there's something new. And then next year I'll get to experience the new Playhouse in all its glory, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
In other Point Park campus news, with only days remaining until senior graduation on April 28th, many seniors still have not grabbed their caps and gowns for graduation. But I'm here to tell you, you do not have to worry. You still have time to head over to the bookstore in Lawrence Hall to get sized and fitted for your cap and gown. For senior students who have yet to grab your honors cords, you can head over to Alumni Relations in the Student Center to grab your cords. Less than 2 weeks left until graduation, and finals are also coming up next week. So good luck to all students and congratulations to all graduating seniors.
Beginning, others to make a name for themselves. But these students chose college as a way to just be themselves.
So it was my sophomore year of Point Park, I believe, is when I came out. Me and a group of my friends just all had one of our fun little get-togethers, and I don't know, there's just something about of them all being there that I just felt comfortable with, just telling them who I truly was.
According to the Human Rights Campaign, coming out is the first time you are actively talking about your sexual orientation or gender identity with family, friends, coworkers, classmates, and other people in your life.
Sexuality-wise, when I was 19, just before to my parents, just before I went to college, I'm actually trans, and so then I had come out the spring of my freshman year. And
according to a study done by the Williams Institute, 27% of people identify as LGBTQ between the ages of 18 to 24. It also states that the average age of coming out was 19, but is now 16.
Senior year of high school, maybe right before that summer, because that's when I met my girlfriend, that's when we started dating, that's when I realized that I was gay. I think the first person I came out to was my dad. He was pretty cool about it. I mean, he was a little weird about it at first.
Coming out is a different experience for everyone, whether it be good or bad, but it is a life-changing moment.
I was nervous about how my parents would take it both times, and especially after the first time it went okay. They were kind of upset, but accepting enough, and got better as time went on. But then coming out as trans was a whole different thing.
My mom was a little difficult. She was one of those moms, she didn't kick me out, which is great, but she wasn't exactly supportive either. She was just kind of I don't agree with that, but okay, so she wasn't outwardly mean about it, but she wasn't exactly supportive about it.
A little bit, I don't want to say animosity, there was a little bit, I'll say jealousy, because I told my friends before I actually told my family. And when they heard that, they were just seriously, you can tell us first. But no, there wasn't any, I wasn't outcasted or wasn't pushed to the side or looked at differently with my family or friends.
Along with sharing her story, Samari explained a little about Point Park's only LGBTQ club, the Gender and Sexuality Spectrum Alliance Club, or the GSSA. She started the club with a friend 3 years ago, noting that Point Park didn't have one, and is leaving on a high note.
Really is to get people who are in the LGBT community to meet other people in the community. And we do talk about important things in the club. I don't just mess around. I do like to have fun. But my main goal is for people to make friendships here.
Another resource on campus is Parker Warrens. Parker holds safe zone trainings with faculty, staff, and student leaders to help them better work with LGBTQ members of the student body.
Is safe zone qualified if they go through the training, do the 3-hour thing, and they sign a paper at the end that says like, okay, I've done the training, I feel like I'm prepared to talk to people about it, and I feel like I can be a safe space for people. Whenever they sign that paper, they get that sticker that you see around the university, and that kind of designates them as like someone, a student or a peer could go in and talk to them and be like, hey, I need resources for LGBT stuff, or like, hey, I'm not sure what I'm doing with sexuality or my gender. So it just kind of marks them as someone that you know is an ally that they can talk to.
College is normally known to be stressful, but for these students, it was a place for them to embrace change and be happy.
You get it all, like once it happens and you just feel like you're just opened up to this wonderful world and just like all these new, like I've said this already, this new lifestyle that just like once you experience it, once you indulge in it, it's just truly beautiful and like breathtaking.
And for the last time this semester, that does it for this week's Point News. Be sure to join our new crew next fall back on Thursday, live at 2 p.m.
From downtown Pittsburgh, have a great weekend, everybody.